We're not going to do the Doom soundtrack all through tonight again, but I'm going to let this song finish and then we'll start programming. I should have that just be the intro song every time. Theme song of the stream. Actually, so that song's 9 minutes long, which means it would make a really good subscribe notification sound, like every time somebody subscribes. We just play the whole song. That would be good, right? So, many months ago, I had been working on this player movement thing, and then I kind of went on to other things and never finished it. And I think it's time to make it robust because there's just a string of gameplay fixes and bugs that need to happen and levels that need to be improved that all can't really happen until this is fixed. So for example, right now, again, the problem is that the movement system just has some idea of things interpolating from one square to the other, and that's the only kind of motion. So if I'm being carried by a lily pad right now, it's setting my one interpolation slot to be a copy of its interpolation slot to move us both. And that moves us in sync. And the problem is just if I want to walk around on this lily pad raft, it doesn't work very well. Like sometimes I can move to the square I want and other times I can't based on timing. Sometimes I'll fall off in extreme cases. So I think the job for tonight, this is one of those things where we're incrementally, gradually turning it into a more robust system that will work for this game. And it's been a long time since I worked on this particular thing, but I believe that my plan was just to have different slots for different kinds of motion. I mean, this was like the nth plan because I kept coming up with ways to solve this problem and being unhappy with the various ways. And so I think if we just have one slot for voluntary movement and one slot for supported movement and one slot for falling, that's basically everything that could happen. And then we just need to take care of if you're moving across supported things, we need to update your support. right? And I believe I did a bunch of the background code necessary to make that happen, although who knows? I don't remember. We'll find out. Anyway, and then I guess, we're also like this motion of the lily pads of starting and stopping is only really good if the water moves that way, which I don't think it is. And so we're going to make the lily pads be smoothly moving eventually and all that. But not yet. Not yet. Because this is a bigger problem. So I'm just going to start by just looking at the old code and refreshing my memory of how it works. And then we'll just do the thing, right? I mean, I think just putting supported carrying motion onto a different slot is going to be right. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I'm trying to close my granola bag. It's not closing. It's not closing. We can't program until the granola bag. Oh wait. Yeah. Okay, this is one of those granola bags where the little zipper that it has is so strong that it's peeled itself off the wall of the granola bag and hence is not closable. This is potentially a great disaster. For now, we'll just squeeze it under an object. Any new keyboards? No. No, not yet. All right. All right. So, visual interpolation. So we have this whole sync ID system, and we gradually want to move away from that. For these different functions, it's used right now if you push something or pull something or carry something. So I believe we want to make it so that carrying happens a different way. Is this for Bard charming? Yeah. Okay, so that's for pulling. That's for general sync. That's for general sync. That's for pushing. Okay, so trying to figure out where this happens. Supported. Find supported entities. Okay. So we pass it in here. So this is in move entity. When an entity moves and it's supporting other entities, we call move entity on those things with a sync ID. So now the question is, I believe that I may have, like right now, this is a move that happens in a certain way. Like when I'm going to move, I query for who's on top of me and then I move them. We might also, because I seem to remember programming this, or maybe I backed it out, I think we have on every entity the ID of who it's supported by already. Like called like support ID or something. Supporting ID. Hey, that's a good thing to write down. Okay, great. Supported by ID. Nobody uses that. Nobody uses that either. Okay, well, I typed in the variable names. I didn't do anything else with them. It does seem more suitable to use these, but the thing is, it doesn't totally matter. Because we can do this switch over one piece at a time. And I don't actually need to use these yet. Like, the trick to dealing with a system this complicated sometimes is just to not frickin' break everything, right? So here, here, when I call move entity, or actually, basically, I just need to do something here to say, hey, this isn't a regular move, this is a support move. You know? Now the thing is, there's only one alarm bell ringing for me, which is just, I thought I remembered on stream actually doing a thing where we had multiple visual interpolation slots, and then I decided that wasn't the right way to do it and backed it out. I don't remember why it wasn't the right way to do it, but that's telling me that I shouldn't do it that way again. What I should really do is make that supported by ID thing work. That is what I think. And here we can make that work without changing the movement functionality at all. So the first part of the job is just going to be when an entity is supported by something movable, just make sure that ID is on it and is up to date and that we can draw it on the screen and that it looks correct, right? Then once we've done that and that works, then we can do the step where we actually move guys by their support. Which is, again, it's going to be a little bit annoying, but not that annoying. It's code that I've certainly written before in different contexts. How am I going to fix the animation curves? I don't know what you mean. What animation curve? What do you mean? You can foresee problems with entities moving while the supporting entity is also moving if they're all trying to snap to the underlying grid. Yes. That is definitely going to be a thing. And the way we're going to handle that is just by having entities have a recentering behavior in certain contexts, right? So you don't ever walk diagonally, right? So if you're walking vertically, we'll recenter you horizontally, right? And if you're walking horizontally, we'll recenter you vertically. And if you're falling, we'll recenter you toward the, the middle of the square. And if you're standing still, we'll recenter you toward the middle of the square. Okay. Well, let's just do that. I don't think that we're going to use at all this I don't think we're going to use supporting ID. We're just going to use supported by ID because one thing could support multiple other things in some cases. But you're always just going to have one thing that's supporting you canonically. And if you move off of that, then we'll retest. All right. So okay. So we have this is supported function, and we probably want to say supported by what if it's a non-constant entity. If it's like a wall, just to cut down on computation and stuff, if you're on an immovable thing like a wall, maybe that's the only immovable thing that we pay attention to, then we return 0 for the support ID. Maybe we already do that. All right, so let's look. Dude, I can't, if I open this window more than just a hair, it's way too cold. All right. So we're returning a mobile supporter ID, which I think right now can only be a lily pad. So the question is, does anyone rely on that? So I'm going to look for who calls is supported. And see if anyone even pays attention to this right now, and if so, how they pay attention to it. Yeah. So that's junk. That's one return value. Okay, we do it there in Skipping Stones. And in Sokoban. Okay, so people do pay attention to this. But I seem to remember in some cases it's to return a return value. So we're going to have to check that, and we're going to have to see who looks at that return value and so forth. All right. Yeah. So maybe stop skipping returns the supporter. Okay, so here we explicitly check if it's a lily. Okay. And that's just for sound effects, and this is going to get much more sophisticated later anyway. Okay, so that's good. Okay, what were we looking at before? So maybe stop skipping was returning a supporter. Same thing. We explicitly check if it's a lily, so it's fine if we make it not a lily. Okay, now how about, that's everything in that Skipping Stones file. And then we'll look in Sokoban. Line 1598. Okay. Well, we return from here. Why do we do this extra assignment of mobile supporter? Is it just because? All right. So who is this? Can go. All right. I'm going to write down that we have to check that. $31.10. That's just a different overload of is supported. Okay, well, so who calls can go? A lot of people. Who pays attention to the mobile supporter, though? Probably not many of them. Just that one. That's literally the only time. And it's so that it's for when people are charmed. It's for when you charm somebody and somebody else is riding on top of the charmed person. So, yeah. Okay, so what we're going to want to do, let me make a piece of paper. So basically, once we do this changeover, we're going to want to remove this call to move entity, because these guys won't move in this way, not the same, right? So we're going to want to remove that. The thing that we looked at before, where we call get supported entities, we're going to want to remove that. But like I said, before we do that, we're going to want to track support. And it looks to me like it's legal to have that mobile supporter return more than lily pads. Is it raining here? Yes. I finished the water stuff. I finished it enough for now. Like, there's definitely more work to be done there, but it should wait until the back-end visuals are more in place, because otherwise you can't really judge, you can't really guide the work at some point unless you have more of an estimate of what it's going to look like. So we got it to a good point yesterday, and we're just waiting for some other people to do stuff so that we can pick it up again and bring it further. That's all. You know, I missed some to-do lists. All those to-do list papers, I missed one or two. I put them all together today at the office, but this one is not combined. That's okay. Is it still worth moving to Bay Area for a software job? Okay. So is supported, we want to always return a good supporter. So I don't know why we're renaming this. Like, this should just be that. Like that. Right. Okay, fine. Is supported. Okay. If it's a wall, we return null. If it's a lily, we return that. If it's a floor, we don't. In fact, this is even wrong. We don't use floor entities hardly anymore. There's something that we used in a few mock-up levels. Okay, fences can't move right now. I think. Oh, and we do, if it's a monster or a guy, we do return it. Okay. I think we want to return E here. I think we want to return E here. Anyway. So now, in falling, when we evaluate fall, this is when we decide if we're going to fall. If we're supported, we will say E dot supported by ID equals, if supporter, E dot supported by ID equals supporter dot entity ID, else it's 0. Now we might be supported, but get a null supporter because, like I said, if it's a wall or something, then we're just going to return null because we don't want to spend time and attention tracking walls because you walk on them all the time. Wall also includes floor blocks. God, it's so cold. Dude, I can't deal. Now I'm going to overheat and I'm going to have to reopen the window in 30 seconds. It's going to be crazy. The problem in Austin isn't snakes, it's mosquitoes, man. Mosquitoes. I do have central air. I'm just not using it. Come on, bruh. Okay. So we're just setting supported by ID there. Now that said, we need to do this multiple times. Like evaluate splash. I have on my list that this function should go away. So we're not going to worry about it right now. So if we're supported, we're just going to do this completely. Yes, it's a redundant if, but we're still manipulating this code in a fairly laissez-faire manner. Okay. So I'm going to want to just draw the support ID. And I kind of don't want to make an extra debug mode for it. We certainly could. But I'm just going to put it in the F10 mode. Like right now, I think if I hit F, is it F10? What is it? I get a movement debug mode. Yeah. The thing is, it doesn't draw anything if we're not moving. I mean, I could just trust that it works. And then if it's not working very well, we'll debug it. Let's do that. Because sometimes it's annoying enough to add the debug code that you're like, eh. I mean, I'm sure we'll add it, but yeah. Okay. I'm tired now. Why am I tired? It's like 7 p.m. It doesn't... Oh, I know why. I don't usually set an alarm, and I set an alarm this morning because I had an appointment somewhere. And I got there, and they were like, what appointment? And I was like, the appointment. And they were like, who did you make it with? And I was like, oh, God. So, yeah, I know why I'm tired. Yeah. Okay, so I'm not going to bother drawing this right now. Maybe it's fine, maybe it's not fine. Actually, you know what? No, let's draw it. Screw it. But we're not going to put effort into drawing it. We're going to put it on the F10 screen. Where even is that? Is it here? I don't even remember. This is like the game HUD. What does F10 do? Toggle debug mode moves. Debug draw moves. Debug draw. That's what it's called. Okay. Draw animation HUD. Or draw moves HUD. It's its own file. Since when do I put these things in their own files? It's like I'm schizophrenic now. All right. So draw moves HUD. Okay. We're just gonna frickin' draw it. Where does font come from? I guess it's just local to the file. All right. So where do I draw the text? We set the shader to shader text. My W skipped. Just going to paste all this in. It's temporary. We don't care. So instead of name, we're going to call it line. And what is line? It's going to be ID of E. All right. Title Y. Too many return values. What do you mean? No. Because I pasted that. I don't see anything on the screen. I feel cheated. Look at all these bad things happening. So what the hell? Maybe I've got to do this. Possibly. No, what? Why am I not seeing any frickin' text? This is what I hate, dude, about trying to deal with graphics in game. Like, I just want to draw text in a position on the screen, but the fact that, like, fucking drawing graphics to a screen in a game is so complicated these days, you can't just do that and have it work. It's like, oh my God. I'd be so much more productive if I could just do that and have it work. It's all the fault of the people who make the rendering APIs. I mean, it might not be like I might be drawing the text correctly in a totally wrong place on the screen for some reason, but the fact that I don't have confidence that that's what's happening is just what rendering in games is like. Like, oh, some bullshit state variable is not set, so your thing doesn't appear. Fuck. Oh, wait. Let's do this up here. That could very easily break it, but I thought the caller was doing that, and that one was redundant, but it may not be the case. It's time to punch the screen. See, I didn't even want to draw this. I didn't even. Oh, wait. Unit scale is the wrong one. Yeah, RenderDoc is hard enough to use that I don't typically resort to it unless it's an absolute last resort. Probably need this, dude. Okay, the get text position. Okay. So probably what's happening is that this get text positions has like dependencies on the matrices. So like I need to do this, right? And then this, and then I need to switch to 2D mode and set the shader. That is my guess at what's happening. Let's find out. I mean, this won't actually tell us if that guess was right or not. Hey, look, we've got hello sailors now. That was the problem. Okay. So the problem is just that this, which looks like a relatively innocuous function, cares about the state of the matrices, which, like, yeah, welcome to video games. Okay. So we now, instead of printing the ID of the entity itself, we want to say what's it supported by. So we go ID string of E that's supported by ID, right? And it'll be 0 at the beginning. Well, let's see. Why? So lilies think they're supported by themselves, which is a bug. That's kind of funny. So we're going to need to fix that. But apart from that, there we go. See, he's 0, 0. Yeah. Okay, we got to fix that lilies think they're supported by themselves. That's unacceptable. Yeah, the donut stream, you know, I peeked in on the donut stream a couple of times. It seemed like they weren't really doing that much. And they certainly didn't have donuts, so that was false advertising. I don't know, what do you guys think? Was it a bad stream to host? Good stream to host? What was it? They were funny, but programming-wise, bad. Okay. Not very productive. Don't worry about the water tile animations. They're totally temporary. This is not what the game will look like. This is not what the game will look like. Is it bad that you like those animations? Yes, it is bad. They are not good animations. It's just distorted texture coordinates over time right now. It's like not the right way to animate anything. So when I do find supporting entity, or is supported, I guess we just check against self-support. I guess that's the most obvious thing to do. Wait, supposedly we do that. There's this thing, which I think is redundant, like oh, but it sort of handles people moving into places. But that's like a hack that we want to get rid of. Let's just try commenting this out. Let's see what happens. Well, now lilies are falling into the water because they're not supported. Haha. Okay, well, lilies always float, so if wait, what's the 0 versus? Yeah. Gaijin doesn't exactly mean foreigner in Japanese. It's the rude version of foreigner. So foreigner, as politely as it generally tends to be said, is gaikokujin. All right. If you say gaijin, it's you're speaking badly about someone. It's kind of an ugly word. If you say gaijin, you're talking about Donald Trump kind of foreigners. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so the game is still kind of basically functioning. I want to make a note to remove Find Mobile Supporter eventually. Okay, so hey, look, the lilies now say 0 for who they're supported by. That's great. The character is seems to be mostly updating. Maybe a little bit late, but whatever. We're gonna fix that. Yeah, like he only switches support, I think, when he finishes his movement. Whereas we'd rather have it switch when you cross the square between one guy and another. But to a first approximation, achoo, this is not so bad. So my next step is I'm going to break my ability to walk on these lily pads at all by taking out the get supported entities thing that moves guys. And then I'll walk onto the lily pads and they'll move out from under me and I'll die, probably. And then it will make support motion a reality. Sorry, if you want something easier on the ears, I'll turn the Doom soundtrack back on. How bad would performance have to get before you would switch gears and go optimize it to debug builds? What I've learned is that by the time things are so slow that you break down and optimize them, you end up wishing you would have done it a lot sooner. So I'm trying to err on the side of doing that sooner. I've been thinking it would be nice to go through and just make the debug build run faster. That might be a thing we do some weekend on stream. But stuff like this is just more important because there's so many gameplay things gated on, by which I mean that have been waiting for me to do this change and make it work, that, you know, certain parts of the game design have just been on hold for months because of this. So it's important for me to do it. And even if it doesn't work, like I might try it this way and I'm like, well, that didn't work either. But then that at least proceeds us further down the road because we see why it didn't work and then we think about doing it a totally different way. So yeah, this is just too important to delay. But I do want to do some optimization stuff at some point. All right, let me grab a drink. Back in a sec. Okay. So, let's break it. Break it down. Break it down. Oh, geez. It is never that simple. So I was about to remove this code because this is the code that happens when an entity moves and it's going to carry another entity. Okay. The problem is there's a complication. If that other entity is affected by a beam in some way that it would like teleport or something, then we still have to do that. I'm going to temporarily suspend that, but we're going to have to bring it back later. The other thing that makes me worry is this whole transaction ID situation, but I'm not going to rat hole on that right now. Okay. Okay, so this piece of code is gone for now, but we're going to put this note here called : beam enabled, because that's what I wrote on this piece of paper. Okay, now when I go back here, it's not going to work. See, that's the danger of messing up your video game. Just things don't work, and so many levels are broken now because I can't. Things don't carry me like they should. But that's good. That's progress. Removed ghost timers for filthy casuals. Filthy casuals. All right. Okay. So now the tricky thing is when we're going to move guys by support ID. We actually, in principle, need to do a dependency analysis where we sort things by depth and like move the root thing and then the next thing and then the next thing. But as our very first cut, we're not going to do that. We're just going to iterate over everything that's supported and just move it a little bit. Right? And then we'll see. So in visual interpolation, we're going to say before this whole step, okay, wait, update entity viz, who calls that? See, it sounds like it's doing it for one entity, but it's for everybody. Okay, we're going to say record supporter positions. Okay, so because what we're going to do is we're going to say, look, here's, if I'm supported by something, right? Let's go back to this. If my supported by ID is set, then we're going to figure out what my position in world space was before the move. And then we do all our regular moves, which might move my supporter. And then after that, we're going to say, okay, where am I now? So we're actually going to say in object space and in world space. So we're going to record the supporter positions, and then we're going to say after everything happens, God, we've got to cut out some of this code. There's so much stuff in here. Oh my God. Okay. When we call evaluate fall is weird. I mean, I guess we're going to do it here. Okay, so this is going to be called move due to supporters. Okay, and we're just going to put these at the end of the file. Really, we maybe should have done this when we detected the support, but whatever. Okay, so if it's not moving, continue. Okay. So if our supporter was an entity that got destroyed, then maybe we need to do something. But yeah, for now, that's that. So then we're going to say e.supported position in object space equals world to object space e.position supporter, right? E.supported position in world space. I mean, I guess this is just e.visual position. Oh, it's Visual position, let us not forget that. Okay, so that's all we're going to do. And then when we say move due to supporters, we're going to do something else. We're going to say same stuff. And now we're going to say new world space is object to world space e dot supported position in object space, which is this thing that we recorded up here, right? We want to say how much did this point on this entity move, because the entity could have moved linearly, it could have moved angularly, it could have teleported, in which case, yeah, we want to skip it maybe. Okay, we just do that. So we say, what is that in world space, that point in the supporter space? And we say delta is new world space minus the old world space, right? And then we're just going to say e dot visual position plus equals delta incomplete detect physical moves. I don't know. We're just starting to get the basics going. Oh, not move type, visual interpolation. Supporter. Wait, what? World to object space? What? It's the other way around. Weird. Other way around. See what happens. Okay, that's not exactly what I expected, but something happened. Oh, we have to wrap it. We have to do all kinds of things. Oh my God. Okay, so I think we have wrapped. Don't we have a wrapped delta? No. We have a wrapped distance, wrapped unit vector. Okay. Wrap 2. Let's make a wrapped delta. To a vector 3, return b minus a. So this is wrapped delta manager.proximity grid. Okay. My W key keeps bouncing. I need a new keyboard. Oh, wait. All right. So now what? That's not the only problem. I'm not sure why the guy was teleport. Oh, because object to world space and world to object space use the lily pad's physical position, which is not what we want. Urgh. Okay, we're gonna buy a new keyboard. By the end of the stream. So this is stupid, but visual position. All right. Hey, look, I'm moving. It's like not totally working, especially when I hit the edge of the map, but it's not the worst thing that I've ever seen. I mean, I've seen some pretty bad things in life, honestly. Like he's falling for a second and then being reevaluated, you know what I'm saying? I don't exactly know why, but like, yeah. Well, this is good because even though this is kind of dysfunctional, I can walk around on demand now on the lily pad and it works every time. The thing causing all the snapping and weirdness is just other aspects of the old system that we now have to take care of and or well, there's a number of things that have to get better. Let's just say that. But it is good. It's a good start. So the thing now is that we don't necessarily move our physical position at the right time. So we want to check for a physical move. And that's still going to be in world space. And we need to do weird stuff later, like, what if this lily pad tries to move me into a wall? I have to like scrape off the wall, and we're just going to have to handle all that stuff. But yeah. So right now, we gotta move me. How do you deal with the cut and paste? I deal with it by cutting and pasting things. I'm not that worried about copying and pasting code. It's just not. I put that there because if I feel like it's important to clean up later, I have a thing to search for that tells me where I did that. But when you're reading programming books and they spend too much effort saying don't duplicate code, it's not a very good book, honestly. Okay. So we want to keep our position in world space, which means when we cross a boundary, we check to see whether we could go there. If we can't, the question is, what do we do about recovery? But we're not going to worry about that yet. One step at a time. We're just going to worry about what happens if I can. All right. So let's look at what some of these things do. What does hasMove do? I feel like it doesn't do much. Oh, this frickin' thing. Oh, bro, we already have old positions for entities. Move this frame. We probably want to use that. I forgot about that. This is used mainly in the editor right now, but I guess I realized we were going to want to use it for other things too. So we could use entity move record here instead. The only reason why we might not want to is because you take a speed hit when looking it up, potentially. But like we could store that on the entity, just like we're storing our current data. I don't know. Okay. So that's has moved. So we're going to call that. Wait, does that get called with the visual position? Old VP, yeah. All right. Okay, if should physically move, let's pass this physically moved array. This is a robustness note. Okay. So we want to move this up, I think, to here. Okay, move due to supporters. We'll take physically moved as an argument. This is not it is E. The yellow lines Z fighter don't appear in the mirror water puzzles. The blue ones work okay. All right, well, it's still a mystery why he stops there, but... All right, well, it's still not working. Oh, and then undo, of course. Undo right now doesn't save the record of who you're being carried by yet, and so that, of course, has to be taken. Yeah, I mean, if you guys think this is over-engineered, then I welcome you to make a game that does the same thing and see how it goes. That's all I'm saying. I will say, so this particular game is a lot harder than you would think. I seem to have a knack for making games that are a lot harder than you would think in one way or another. Like, if this were just a game where you walk around a continuous world, it would be way easier to make than it is. The thing is, we have a hybrid of continuous looking motion, but in this world that wants to be like a transactional puzzle-based grid world, so everybody has two positions at all times. Everybody has what's called the physical position, right, which is which integer grid square they occupy, and then everybody has a visual position, which is where it actually looks like you are on the screen. And, you know, things have to be in sync, right? So if I am pushing a boulder, not only do we have to smoothly animate, right, from one square to the next, but the transaction of when I move into the neighboring square, when my physical position moves into the boulder square, has to be the same frame as when the boulder moves out of that square into the next square, so that you never have an inconsistent world state, right? So if you start with that and then you add as many complicated gameplay items as are in this game, you get a very involved situation. That's all I'm saying. So, I mean, I'm not saying that it can't be a little simpler than what I'm doing. It can, and I'm actually working on it to figure out how to make it simpler. But anyone in chat who's looking at that and saying, oh, this is way over-engineered, probably does not appreciate the complexity of the problem correctly. It's actually really hard. Anyway, though, it's like, dude, I made a frickin' 2D action platformer, right? So if you think it's the same as a platformer, I can tell you no, it's not. And well, we made a 3D platformer essentially. I mean, you can't jump in the Witness, but like you ride on animated platforms and stuff. So, yeah. Anyway, so now there are at least two different problems. One is, why am I going into falling here for a second and then unfalling? So, and then the other one is, why when I hit the edge, oh, you know, that's probably, okay. I think I know why I hit the edge. Let's work on that one. That's because we have to wrap my position again. Don't I just have a wrap function? Wait, that looks like it's integer. What? Let's look at. Oh, we have a maybe wrap. Yeah. E.visual position is maybe wrap. Manager E.visual position plus delta. We'll do that. Yeah, so sort of what's happening right now is we're at close to the maximally messy point. We're not quite there yet because we still need to get all this to work better. And then it's still not working. And then it'll be too messy, and then we'll have to go and simplify it, right? And that's just what it is. It is what it is, man. I'm not an experienced Rubik's Cube solver, but sure, if that's the analogy that works for you. Can anyone make a game? Probably depends on your definition of game. Let's draw this guy's position on the debug. Print v3. Oh. Yeah. Whoops. That's not the right one. It's not in debug draw. Oh, it was in moves HUD. Okay, we want line is t print this e position x e position y. I just want to see what happens. And I mean, when you say anyone, do you mean like literally anyone, or do you mean, you know, anyone with a basic education? You know what I'm saying? 9.525.998 and 789. Yeah, so that's past the edge of the world. I'm not sure why that didn't wrap. Feels like it should have. We could take a look at maybe wrap. Maybe it's not right. So for less than 0, for greater than or equal to squares x, oh, I mean, isn't it like 9? Shouldn't be. Grid 10, oh, 10, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9.5, whatever. It really should be squares x minus 0.5. Because you want to wrap to the neighborhood. See, I don't know. The problem is if I change this, it may change behaviors of some things. Like, if I'm doing this so that I can then cast to int, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, the game has 500 levels. No, this game is not coming out this year. It's too big of a game. Not coming out this year. Is this some kind of Steven Sausage Roll type game? Well, in the very broad sense that it's a puzzle game that happens on a grid, yes, but the actual game is going to be very different from Sausage Roll. Very different. Are we going to release the engine code? Yes, we are. Wasn't the plan to release the next game in 2 years? I mean, I never had a specific amount of time. And I'm not even sure that this is the next game that we're releasing, because we do have multiple things in the oven. So keep that in mind. So I suspect we're going to release the compiler at least in beta before this game comes out. Because games are hard to finish. They take a lot of effort, you know. Okay. So, I mean, I feel like a lot of people are calling this wrap function, so it's dangerous. It's dangerous, but at the same time, maybe other people have a bug. So we're going to have to audit maybe wrap versus maybe visual wrap. For now, we're just going to make separate versions of these. Whoops. This is going to be maybe wrap visual, wrap visual, wrap visual. So we basically want to be in the square with, you know, it's basically a half a square offset of what we had. Because, like, for example, 0, 0 is actually the middle of the square at the origin, right? And so Hey, look, he's still going. It worked. He's still going. He's going. He's still falling. We gotta fix that. But he's going. He's not stopping at the edge. Is this the first time I've been involved in more than one game at once? No, it is not. Not remotely. Mysterious hexagon game. I don't know what you mean by mysterious hexagon. It's so weird that he only falls when he's not close to the edge. That might be a whole other bug, for all I know. Like sometimes you have what looks like one bug and it's really like 3 bugs at the same time. Those are the best. Those are the best. Things still will never work once we undo, because that's a whole situation. I don't know why that snap is happening. It's a weird one. But, you know, we're working on it. So I'm going to make a debug build, and we're just going to see what happens. Start falling. We're just going to set a breakpoint there. It's not tripping. Okay. Oh, because we didn't... I F5'd from the wrong place. Hey, Hannah, what's up? Earl Grey chocolate cake eating sim. I would be all over that right now. That would be so good that I'm actually kind of upset that you brought up this idea, because now I want an Earl Grey chocolate cake. Like, I've never had a chocolate cake that had a real strong Earl Grey flavor. That would be good. I noticed you sent an origin message, and I was programming, and it was really tiny on the screen, so I didn't read it, but I'm not gaming right now, if that's what that was about. Oh, it's no problem. Like, I just couldn't even read it. It was like a tiny little box down here. Okay. And then I was like, oh, I got a message. Maybe I shouldn't like pop open a message from somebody on stream if they don't know, you know. All right. So evaluate fall. Post move reevaluate, update entity visual interpolation. Okay. So the guy is getting put into physically moved, which we said we would do when he crosses a border. Probably, okay. So here's the thing. The support check, we might actually belay the rest of this until tomorrow, because like I said, we're in between systems, right? So right now, we have this support check that says like, hey, is there anything under you that you can stand on right now? And it only looks for things that are in your grid square, right? So if you've like crossed over into another grid square, but something is like under you mostly, but its center is actually in the grid square to your left, like it could be a hair left of a grid boundary and you could be a hair right of a grid boundary. And so you're almost standing on its center visually, but you're in separate gameplay grid squares, right? So right now, using the old support system, that will fail to find that supporter, right? And so I'm wondering if that's happening here. It would have to be a really weird case, though, where one of the lilies is just to the left and one is just to the right or something. We could figure it out. Right, so handled was false. What we actually could do is just add some more code where we say, if we're not supported, just call is supported again. Because if we step through this here, we're going to get it for like every entity, and it's going to be hard to know, which one we're looking at, and tedious to step through. But if we add a little bit more code, then we know that right here, it'll just be in the case of when things start falling. So we're going to do that. By the way, so Hannah, if you're still on, I thought, didn't we at some point say, hey, we're going to turn on this no check-in thing for every repository? I feel like we did that, but then I also know that it doesn't work, at least for a lot of them, because I've checked in no check-in stuff. So that's a question. Is this actually supposed to work if I say no check-in? Because I thought it was. Oh, you say you're heading off. Hannah works with us doing things. She doesn't work on this game right now, but she works on other things. If you include silent in your commit message, it won't send a check-in mail. That's not what I mean. No check-in here is supposed to mean that it'll reject my attempt to check in this source code, right? This is an older thing that we supposedly did like last year. I thought I remembered you being on that thread, or maybe even that you copied the thing over to all the repositories, but I could be remembering that totally wrong. Maybe Andy did it. I just remember that we supposedly turned this on everywhere, but it doesn't work. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. It doesn't work. It might be because, maybe after we turned it on, didn't we then switch servers and stuff? So maybe when we switched servers, it didn't get moved over or something. I don't know. Oh, maybe we didn't turn it on for Sokoban? That could be. It could be. Yeah, if you want to check and bug somebody about it, that would be awesome. Because we should, like with a tool like that, I think it makes the most sense just to have it be uniform everywhere so nobody has to think about it. Nobody has to think about it. Okay. Good thing my console now says attempt to index a nil value every time I type anything. Quality software of the year 2020. Okay, so now we said false, and now we're going to go back in here and take a look at things. And so here's kind of part of the problem is this find it position is just integer grid square based. We're not doing the things that a game would usually do where you have like an oct tree based on floating point numbers and stuff, although we may do that. In fact, that might be the first thing I do tomorrow morning when I wake up and stream, is change that. Okay, we found 0 things at the entity's position except for the entity itself, which is already a problem because the lilies are supposed to be at the same position. So what happened is, okay, what happened is this guy's on the leading grid square and he's just epsilon to the right of the thing or something. Or maybe it is just to the right of him. It looks that way. So it probably advanced to the next square and he didn't yet. And then he started falling, but then the next lily pad moved to under him after 1 frame or something. So I'm actually not going to worry about debugging it too much once I've seen that, because we already know that supporter detection has to be more continuous like this. That also means it's going to get more expensive, but then we'll optimize it afterward. I think you have to write no check-in. I'm pretty sure it was uppercase. Let me just try it. Let's go to main, which I don't think I've edited. Let's see. Oh, it's modified. How about bananas? I know I haven't edited bananas because it doesn't frickin' work right now. So I'm going to go no check-in in uppercase, and I'm going to go no check-in in lowercase. And we're going to check in bananas. Hi. This is a test. Oh. It is work. So maybe it's just uppercase doesn't work. So if I leave the lowercase, so maybe this was just me being confused about what it was. If I leave the uppercase, okay. It lets me check it in if it's uppercase, but not lowercase. So I guess it does in fact work, and I was not well informed about what the thing was, because I've been putting it in uppercase. Do I think I'll reach an age where I'm tired of programming? I'm almost 50. First, don't remind me. Second, I don't feel that old right now. So, you know, I mean, things happen, but etc. All right, you know, I think I'm going to end the stream here just because, like I said, I had to wake up early in the morning with an alarm, and that makes me tired for the rest of the day. Maybe I am getting old. The next thing to change, well, and I could start on this next thing right now. The thing is, it's a relatively delicate, and it's just gonna mangle a lot of the game, and it's gonna be a big thing. And I want to leave it for when I'm fresh. So the next step is going to be to go to this is supported stuff or actually, maybe we just go straight to find at position and make that, ideally you'd have a better data structure in the background, but we would make it something that just scans all the neighboring grid squares and looks for something close by in XY and returns that, even if it's not technically in the same grid square. The problem with that is I can't do that because find at position probably sometimes really wants that exact square. So we're going to have to make a version of it that's like find loosely at position or something and call it here. That'll be the next step. Rand Miller is almost 60, and a reporter in an article insinuated his time is coming, like he's going to turn into a pile of ash at any moment. Yeah. Hey Hummus, you're here just in time for us to raid somebody. How good is that?
I'm getting sidetracked. Yeah, getting sidetracked.
Who are we gonna raid? Someone in science and technology who doesn't grow weed. And not funny, fun giggle games, probably. Like, what? What?
Due to Blizzard Buffalo, for example, in X3. I don't like a lot about X3, but I do think that stage is...
That's not game development. Whoops, I closed the whole thing. I was so upset at giggle games.
You guys pretty good run. Love the channel, but we'll let you...
Okay. Carl Sagan, always an option. Kill the Moon, design planning. Fist of the Forgotten game dev. What's with all the people streaming tonight? That's good. It's good. Oh, it's first person RTS guy. Wasn't this the guy who was like, I've been working on this for 2 years and my wife is going to make me get a job? I don't remember what he looked like, but I think that was this guy. Let's see how he's doing. We're going to raid him tonight again. I guess his wife hasn't made him get a job yet. It's also, there's cultural stuff, because wasn't his wife like Japanese as well? So like being an indie game developer and not having a real job is frowned upon even more heavily in Japan than it is here, I think. All right. Thanks everyone for coming by. And I think we're going to stream from home tomorrow before I go to work. And we're going to start redoing the support code. See you later.